Good morning, gang. Happy Sunday morning as the weekend prods on. All right. First, before we get anything started, I wanted to say thank you to everybody. This showed up in the mail Friday. So, yeah, what do you know? A year later, YouTube finally deemed me worthy of acknowledging the fact that there's 100,000 of us, which probably pisses them off, but good. What I want to talk about this morning is this truckers' strike that's going to start on Monday, tomorrow. A few of you or somebody asked about it last night. I don't know if there were more than one because obviously you guys know how the live streams go. They fly by pretty quick. But somebody asked what my opinion was on this truckers' strike that's supposed to start in New York. And the more I think about it, the more it concerns me that this might be a real possibility. Okay. Now, if you guys don't know what the reasoning behind this is, the truckers are completely pissed off. Truckers are mostly Republicans, mostly conservatives, and very Trump supporting. Okay. Very pissed off about this $355 million fine that was slapped on Trump last week. And they want to get even, if you will. Now, we know New York City, not New York State, unlike what Fox News loves to say, New York State is deep blue. No, New York City is deep blue. New York State is not. Okay, it's a blue state, don't get me wrong, but that's because of New York City tipping the scales and taking the voice away from the rest of the state. The trucking strike, let's put it this way, is something that I hope happens. I'm not holding my breath because, as I said last night, you saw that truckers convoy we were supposed to have a couple of weeks ago down in Texas, Arizona, California, and that fizzled out to nothing. You remember a year or two ago the big truck rally that you were supposed to have in New York over COVID, and that fizzled out, never really happened. Now, then you get the Canadian truckers strike that we had a couple of years ago over COVID, and that opened some eyeballs. Okay. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. Now, what the strike is supposed to be is truckers are refusing, or supposedly going to, refuse to take goods into New York City. If that only lasts for a couple of days, a week tops, you cripple New York. Okay? There is nowhere local to get anything. You're not going to the local dairy or the local farm and getting vegetables or meat or milk or whatever in New York City. I mean, seeing a tree in New York, other than Central Park, obviously, is wow. I mean, it's a concrete pad. That is it. So start taking away their lattes, their restaurants. A lot of New Yorkers, if they cook at home, they stop at the store once every day and pick up what they're going to cook every night. Okay, remember, you don't have cars and things like this, so you don't have 15 bags of groceries you're bringing home when you're walking. So you stop every day. Well, if that store can't replenish, there ain't no food all of a sudden. I hope this happens. I hope the people, because the truckers sure seem to have a lot more balls than most Americans. Let's put it this way. They do some of what they say. Most of America doesn't do shit. You guys know that, and I do. They talk up a great story, but they don't do anything. If we have this trucker strike, what are they really striking against? Well, sure, it would be against the judgment on Trump, but it's also a thumb to the government there, the entire legal system, because it's also the crime. You figure 60 some odd percent of New York crime that's arrested never even gets prosecuted. I want to give you this one. If you saw this, okay, remember the cops that were beat up in New York by a bunch of Venezuelan illegals a while back? One of the guys had his bond hearing or whatever you want to call it on Friday. The judge gave him, he's a gang member, he's an illegal, and they messed up a cop, okay? His bail was set at $1. Tell me where there's justice for that. Tell me how this cop's family got justice. And the truckers see stuff like this because they see the traffic they have to sit in, the crap that they have to take from the people getting screamed at and yelled at, and they're going, yeah, and I get robbed, I get hijacked. This is what's going to, again, like I said yesterday, Democrat cities, which is basically every one of them, have completely lost their collective minds. And so this is a supply chain thing, because when you don't have food come in, or you don't have clothing or deodorant or whatever is being delivered, people will go crazy fast because they don't know what to do. This is the problem. And when people don't know what to do, they resort to basic animal instinct. Thievery, hurting other people. Not that doesn't already go on in New York like crazy anymore anyway. I mean, they refer to the bad old days under Ed Koch, right? Yeah, we're back there. Crime in New York is running rampant. But, they can't afford the cops. We got to defund the police because we got to feed the illegals. We can't help the residents because we've got to house the illegals. They put them up in hotels that you and I can't afford to stay in. Okay, being illegal, get a free vacation. Hopefully, the truckers do this. Now, the problem is the companies behind them have to agree, because in this economy, if some trucker wants to stand up on his principles and say, boss, I'm not driving into New York City, I'm against all that, and the boss looks at him and says, you either drive in or you don't come to work tomorrow. That's what's going on. How's the union going to play? Remember, unions are liberal. Okay. How's the company play? Do they force their employees? That's a very possible thing. That's what I think is holding a lot of this back, is people are being held hostage. They're being extorted to keep they can't stand up for their principles because, their job's on the line. And I get it. But imagine this starts happening more and more and more, okay? That not only do truckers refuse to go into New York, but then they say, you know what, we're not going into Boston, we're not going into Chicago, we're not going into Cleveland, we're not going into Baltimore, and just keep on going around and around and around. What do the liberals do? They'll freak, okay? Very few conservatives in the cities. Like I've told you, New York City is 85% Democrat, 15% Republican. All right, good luck winning anything in Manhattan. But this is something that we need to pay attention to and we need to prepare for. We need to root them on. We need to support them. Okay. But we need to make this known that you want to treat us unfairly, conservatives, we have a way of getting back. will. We don't. It's funny because conservatives never start to fight, but damn straight we'll finish one.